If you're watching this video on the day it comes out, yesterday was Easter, and this week I want to talk a little bit about what I learned about Easter and some new things that I hadn't really thought about before. After going to various Holy Week services, I've learned some things about Easter that I hadn't really thought about before, or maybe didn't know at all. So I thought I'd just share a few of them with you. On Palm Sunday, when Jesus rides into Jerusalem on a donkey, one thing that I hadn't really thought about before was that the donkey that Jesus rode had not been ridden on before. Now, I don't know a lot about horses and donkeys and stuff, but if you try and ride one that hasn't been broken or ridden on, it'll try and buck you off. But the thing is, this donkey had never been ridden on, and Jesus got on it and rode through town with a bunch of screaming people around him. Normally, the donkey would have freaked out, and even just with Jesus sitting on him, he would have bucked him off. But essentially, Jesus healed the donkey's need to be broken. I'd always kind of just glossed over the part where it says, a donkey that has not been ridden yet. But now that I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, wow, that's cool. Another cool thing about Easter is when Jesus was being crucified, he had two criminals on either side of him being crucified with him. At first, both of the criminals mocked him, pretty much saying, hey, if you're really Christ, why can't you save yourself and us? But after a little while, one of the criminals rebuked the other criminal for criticizing Jesus and talks about how they rightly deserve to be crucified, but Jesus didn't because he hadn't done anything wrong. Then that criminal asks Jesus to remember him when he enters into his kingdom, so he believes. And then Jesus says, truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. So what caused that change? Just a minute ago, they were both criticizing him. Then the next minute, one of the criminals is rebuking the other one for criticizing Jesus. What happened? One, Jesus had said, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. And number two, the rulers start rebuking Jesus and saying, he saved others, why can't he save himself if you're really the Christ? So this criminal is like, wait a minute. He saved others? Who would say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do? And between those two things, the criminal was like, hey, maybe this guy is God, and asks Jesus to remember him, and Jesus does. It's also kind of cool because that shows that grace is enough to save you. You don't have to do any works. I mean, that criminal probably had lived a horrible life, and he just repented and believed, and he was saved. So those are some of the things that I learned about Easter that I hadn't really thought about before and found interesting. I also learned this year that I guess it's a thing that if someone says, he is risen, you're supposed to say, indeed, he is risen back. Hey, I just thought I'd interrupt myself to let you know that it's actually supposed to be, he is risen indeed, not indeed he has risen. Wow, that's a great look. Let's move on. I had never heard about that before, but I guess that's a thing. So yeah, that's about it. But what about you? Did you learn anything about Easter that you didn't know before? Or maybe you had never thought about it like that before? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. You'll never guess what I'm about to say. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Bet you didn't see that coming.